Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome. Today, I had the pleasure of interviewing Etirsa South of Runway Coaching by Etirsa. She is amazing and is dedicated to empowering women with every step they take. So come on in and prepare to be inspired. Welcome, everybody. I'm here with the beautiful and talented Etirsa South from Runway Coaching by Etirsa. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Shannon.
You are very welcome. I'm so excited to have you here with us. One of the things I love about you is that you empower women. In fact, that's part of your slogan, correct?
Yes, it is. You know, when I started coaching runway models. And I realized that it wasn't just runway models that needed to feel empowered when they were walking on the runway, but it's all women of all ages. So that's how it became a part of my slogan, empowering women one step at a time. So it's not just about walking the runway, putting one foot in front of the next. It's literally every step that we take when it comes to feeling more empowered. You can't just jump in and feel empowered. It takes little incremental steps. So that's why there's a little shoe in my logo.
I love it.
Thank you.
I get it. And it's so funny because when I first met you, you were just glowing this beautiful, radiant glow. And I thought to myself, I have to know her.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So whatever steps you've taken have clearly empowered you on the inside and on the outside. Can you tell us a little bit about how when you empower somebody on the outside, it flows through to their inner empowerment?
Yes. Teens are one of my favorite. I love working with young people. If, let's say she's 5'10", or if she's 4'10", if she's not carrying herself with confidence, if she's walking around slumped over, or if she's looking down at the ground, it does not give the appearance of someone who's confident. So when I teach someone to act as though, and I give them the tools to act as though, it automatically transfers into the inside. So if it's something that, even if they're feeling uncomfortable doing it for the first few times, it will, with repetition, become a part of their inside. Some people do it because they're on their cell phones or because they just don't want to make eye contact with others. So I think if you're looking down at your feet, and you're not trying to make eye contact with people, I would say just that one little adjustment can really change the way you feel on the inside. Actually seeing what's going on before you, being present in the moment, making eye contact with somebody. And that can be really uncomfortable for some people, to connect with other humans. And I say that when you do have that connection, even though it's uncomfortable at the beginning, when you first start implementing that into your life, it will become second nature, and it does become easier.
Okay, so just very simple, walk looking forward
and making eye contact with people, saying hello, acknowledging that other people are alive.
It sounds so simple, and yet I know exactly what you're saying. Most of us are looking down when we're walking and not making eye contact, not looking at the world around us. So just that one thing can help infuse that inner confidence.
Yes, absolutely.
Very cool. And tell us about some of the work that you're doing right now, because I know you've got some fun projects that you're working on.
Oh, okay, so I am working with a pageant, and it's ages 12 through 24, young ladies. And it's a scholarship pageant. So it's not so much about beauty. They don't have a swimsuit competition or anything like that. Only 5 out of 100 points go toward the dress that they choose. And so most of it is about how confident are these young ladies. So they are learning how to walk from me. I wish that I had more time to work with them. There's about 47 young ladies, so I have very limited time to work with them. And then a few of them have hired me outside of the pageant to help them with their presentation, the presentation of themselves on stage. And the interview portion is 50% or 50 points. So it's a huge amount. So imagine when you're walking in to meet with somebody who's interviewing you, or a panel of people, if you don't know how to carry yourself and walk into that room like gangbusters, it's going to show. So I teach these young ladies, I have taught them how to walk into a room and just to own their space. So that's one of my favorite. And then I have another one. I'll have to share you this one too. It's a young lady who, she's 14 years old. She actually just turned 15. And she's just not really in her body. She's not, I mean, what 14-year-old is really? There's not very many 14-year-olds that are very present, very aware of their bodies. You know, they're still kids. So I'm teaching her how to still be a kid, but how to really feel herself, know what her body's doing, how she's standing, how is she looking, what is she putting across with the look on her face, and I'm guilty of it too. Sometimes if I'm too much in my head.
Okay, so the expression on your face, the body language, it all comes together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to be honest with you, Shannon, as I'm teaching other people, it's always a reminder for myself, because I am far from perfect. And when I say it to them, I have to own what I'm teaching, So for example, with the pageant, it's a local pageant in my area. And because they are, even though they haven't won the pageant yet, they're still a representative of this city, as am I. So if somebody cuts me off on the road and I want to get angry about it, I have to think twice. I really do have to think twice. So I have to own what I'm teaching these young ladies too. When I step out of my home, I am a representative of my city.
And I know that you do live and breathe all of these practices because you have had a modeling coaching career your entire life. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started and how your career has progressed?
Sure. So when I put it this way, I was 5'9" at age 10. I had a size 11 foot. So I've been tall my whole life, and people automatically combine height with models. So if you're somewhat cute and you're tall, people automatically assume that you should be a model. So I heard that a lot growing up. And my mother said, if you want to try it, great. You just got to keep up your grades and, try it. So I started doing little shows like at the church fashion show. And then I took some lessons from this lady that I'll never forget way back in the day. And runway became a big part of my repertoire as a model. So I started doing a ton of shows. I got picked up by some pretty big agencies while I was in high school, in junior high school. And then I graduated high school, thought I wanted to go into school, to college to be a nutritionist. Then I thought, no, maybe I'll be a psychologist. So then I started studying that, and but still modeling all the while. So I'd been modeling since I was 14. When I was about 19, I'm sitting in class and I'm thinking, you know what? I've had a career for 5 years. If I just continue going forward with this and treating it like the business that it is, I can have a pretty incredible career. And that was many years ago, and 30 something years to now, I'm still doing it. So not as much as I was before I started coaching, but like I said, I did runway modeling for a number of years, print modeling. I still do print modeling and commercials. And how I feel that I have attained some of the confidence that I have now is really from the business. It's going to interviews and getting shut down. It's going to my acting classes and learning different techniques to be able to bring across a message in TV or in commercials. Commercials are where I do most of my on-camera work. And, the shot down part of it, why that's important is because even though you may not be the look of the moment, even though my hair might be too curly or it's not long enough, I still have to go home with myself. You know what I'm saying? So I had to get the tools to not get completely crushed by the business. So what I've done is I have combined the things that I've learned in fashion and entertainment and all of my other education. I've studied meditation. I've studied, loosely studied psychology. I did drop out of college so that I could pursue my modeling. But I have an interest in psychology, self-help, meditation, all of those things that really have helped me be in my body. So I marry what I've learned in fashion entertainment, and I bring that to the quote unquote regular world, people who don't have access to the things that I have learned, from entertainment and fashion and modeling.
Beautiful. I love how you brought in some of the mindset, because no matter what we're doing, whether we're an aspiring model or actor, or we want a job or the perfect mate, we have to present our best selves, and we're not always going to be the chosen one in the moment. Can you talk a little bit more about how you would go home and care for yourself in those moments when you were feeling down?
I'm an introvert, so time alone is very regenerating. And when I was living in Los Angeles and New York, as you can imagine, they're pretty densely populated. So there's always people around. So for me, I needed to retreat in order to regenerate. I would take baths. I would meditate. And sometimes, like right now, and I'm telling myself this as I'm saying it to you, I need to get back into a regular regimen of meditation. I find that going inward for me is very healing. And just not taking it too personally, because it's not about me when somebody doesn't want me. It's not about me when somebody doesn't want, when I say want me in a commercial, if I go to a commercial audition and they book somebody else, it's because that person was better for the job than me. And that's not personal. More power to her who booked it, because some days I'm that person and I want people to uplift me when I'm the one who's booked. Does that make sense? So yeah, that's how I did it, was to retreat and just not take it personally.
And you said when you had a regular practice of self-care, that's when you were at your best.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I need to incorporate into my day to day, because for me, one exercise that I did for many years was yoga. And for me, yoga and spirituality, for me, it's not for everybody else. I know yoga teachers who are absolutely not spiritual people, but they love the practice of yoga because it's an exercise. It helps with flexibility, strength, and all of those different things. For me, it was for my inner flexibility, for my inner strength, so that was a very important part for me, an important piece for me to keep my sanity.
Sanity is important.
Yes.
Yes. So you have had a career since you were 14, all those years ago, and you're still going strong. Went from modeling and runway and print, and now you're coaching young women, but you also coach women in the corporate world as well. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
So can you share with us a little bit about how you help them?
Yes. So, it's really not so different. It's not so different. Women are women. People are people. All women want to be seen. They want to feel confident. They want to feel beautiful, regardless of if they're walking on a runway or if they're walking into a boardroom, or like you and myself, we're both entrepreneurs and we want to feel all of those things. So it's not really that different. I've helped the corporate woman or the woman entrepreneur understand the lingo in a different way than, the lingo that I would use in the fashion world is different than what I would use to somebody who's a corporate lady or a woman entrepreneur. It's just different. The language, but the actions are very similar. So I use some of the audition technique that I've learned. I use a little bit of psychology that I've learned. I use all of those tools that I've picked up in my many years of existence to help women and girls.
Wow, beautiful. So it's not just about how you look and how you walk, but how you feel, but bringing it all together.
Bringing it all together. I mean, because, some people could say, well, if you're not wearing the latest fashion, then you're not cool. It's not about the latest fashion. I do think that it's important to leave the house looking good, but what does good mean to you? For me, is it appropriate, age appropriate, body type appropriate, and is it appropriate for the activity that you're doing that day? So if you're going to a meeting, it may not be appropriate to wear your yoga pants. It may not be appropriate for a 14-year-old, even though she may be busty, for her to be, super cleavage. That, you know what I'm saying? So it's all about what is appropriate for the time, the age, the body that we're talking about, and that's all very specific to the person that we're speaking of. So yes, all of that, it's all a combination, because if I run out of the house, don't get me wrong, sometimes when I run out to take the trash bins out, or, to walk the dog, I'm not always looking fantastic, but I know that if I go in that same sweatpant, mix match sock, to the grocery store, I'm not going to feel my best, because I don't want people to see me in that way. If my neighbors see it, whatever, we all live in the same neighborhood. But if I go to the grocery store and people see me that way, I'm not going to feel my most powerful. So I take the extra step to look better when I leave the house. Okay. And it's not just about how I look, it's how I feel too. If I'm feeling funky, ugly, angry, sometimes I have those days where I feel angry. I don't want to subject the world to that. So I have to go inward. I go inward and check myself before I leave.
I like that you mentioned the clothing and what's appropriate for different times and different places. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of women, and especially our youth, feel like, hey, if I've got these beautiful assets, because they are, young, and some of them are very voluptuous, that they might try to show all of it to the world, especially with Instagram. It's very easy and fun to show off what we've got.
Started on the Instagram. Yes.
Well, I would love to hear your take on what is appropriate to show, because I know if we've got many assets, how do we show our best self and maybe show something that we're proud of without overdoing it?
I believe in the one asset rule. I am in my 40s, so I've got great legs and I love this part of my body. I like to show it, but I'm not going to show it all at one time. I think just pick one and highlight that. So if I'm wearing a short dress or a short skirt or shorts, I don't wear shorts, but if I am wearing shorts or something, I will literally wear a turtleneck and long sleeves, because that is what I'm highlighting, my legs for the day. If I'm wearing something that's low cut, you bet everything else is covered. Now, for somebody who's a teen, every family has their own set of rules. And I personally think that there should be something left to the imagination, for the youngsters out there. And then once they're older and more comfortable with who they are, then, still I stick to the one asset rule. I do see a lot of young people on Instagram who are just, they're not thinking about what story they're telling to the world with the things that they're wearing. And unfortunately, we do live in a society where people do judge. So I think that they need to be careful with what they're putting out there. And there are scary people in the world too. There's some awesome, wonderful, loving people as well, but there are some freaky people out there, So I think that people, young people, young ladies, need to check themselves and just be kids. Be kids. Cover it up. Be kids.
So Etirsa, the work that you do is really to empower women of all ages. Are there any other tips that you have that the parents can start using right away to help empower their own children?
One thing that I find that's difficult for parents is that sometimes they say the very same thing that I say, and it just lands differently to their child. Really, the clothing, I think that that's really important. What a child wears, how mostly she, because most of my clients are female, but I don't discriminate. I do love working with men and boys as well. But my favorite, I love working with women. I would say how they're stepping out into the world is so important, because it's the first thing that people see, what you're wearing, how you're put together. And sometimes parents they're not able to afford the latest fashion. It's not about the latest fashion. Like I said before, there's so many discount places that people can shop. There's the discount stores, there's Target, And it's important. It matters to children how they present themselves to their friends and to school. It's not about a fashion show. It's not about a popularity contest. Going back to the whole Instagram thing, it's not about popularity. It's about how they feel. So really pay attention to how your child is feeling and what makes them comfortable, how they present themselves to the world. And it is the parents' job to rein it in. If they're thinking, I want to show all of my assets, it's the parents' job to say, no, no, you're not going to. This is what is acceptable. If they have their hair is overgrown and they need a haircut, maybe offering them a haircut. If they are wearing clothes that they've grown out of, being mindful of the fact that they're growing so fast. A kid can grow a couple of inches just in a few months. So if their clothes aren't fitting them, get them some new clothes, get them something that helps them feel their best when they're in school, when they've left their home. That would be my first piece of advice.
Okay. Wonderful. So when we feel comfortable in our own clothing, the confidence just can come out of us.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. And when I say comfortable, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about running around school in sweatpants and, yoga pants. I'm talking about things that we look good in, when we look in the mirror, that we're happy with what's looking back at us.
Oh, I love that.
That are complimentary and, things that actually fit our bodies. If we've put on a little bit of weight, do we want to lose weight to get back to where we were? Or do we want to buy clothes that fit our current weight? Just really being comfortable in what we're wearing.
And for the parents who are thinking, oh my gosh, I can't do that, I don't even know where to start, how can they get a hold of you to help you guide them or guide their children into really feeling comfortable in their own skin and in their own clothing?
Well, I am on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Etirsa, Etirsa. You can contact me on my website, which is runwaycoaching.com. And I have a Facebook page too, which is Runway Coaching by Etirsa. And one-on-ones are also great. I love doing one-on-ones with my clients, and I'm also available to do group talks. And yeah, so there's a lot of different ways that people can get a hold of me.
Okay. And one thing that you didn't mention that I know you do is closet audits.
Yes, I do. That was something that I had a little internal struggle about doing. Being that I come from the fashion industry, I work with people who are hardcore stylists. I mean, they're styling movies, costume designing for movies, and singers, their tours, and television, film, all of it. So those people are true stylists. So I fought with it because I didn't want to come across as calling myself something that I have such reverence for. That title is so, they work so hard to earn that title of stylist. That is not what I do. But because I spent so many years in the fashion industry, I know clothes and I know women's bodies. And I was a young girl once, and I was modeling at that young age. So I've had the good fortune to be able to see a lot of different body types in a lot of different clothes. And I know clothing, and I know I'm a woman, so I know what doesn't work for me. I know what doesn't help me feel confident when I'm going into a meeting or when I'm going to a party or whatever. So yes, I do go into my clients' closets sometimes to help them shed some things that may not be helping them be seen as their best self. And the success that I've had with that, so many people are just terrified of their own closets, honestly. And I do things in people's closets that I wouldn't even do in my own. You know what I'm saying? Because I hate shopping. I don't like trying clothes on because I've spent so much time in and out of clothes in the fashion business. But when it comes to shopping for somebody else, oh my goodness, I'm unstoppable. I love doing it. And just the look that they have on their faces when they don't have to think about what they're going to put on, when they don't have to think about, oh my gosh, does this look good on me? And I respectfully, because it's such a tender thing to go into a person's closet and say, I don't think that this is really serving you. I respectfully let them know how terrible something is. No, we have fun. I have fun with my clients, and I let them know with humor and with a lot of tenderness that something isn't serving them and this may serve them better.
And for any of the parents out there that are listening, any parents who have kids that are in the modeling world or breaking into the modeling acting world, can you tell us a little bit about the services that you offer for them? Because I know you have a whole menu of ways to help.
I love working with parents who have no idea what the modeling business is about. And I like to sit with them and their child, if they want their child to be there, and just give them a whole breakdown of what the business is about, what is some of the agency lingo, business lingo that they may just hear in just a basic conversation with their child's new agency, just to help them understand what to expect from their agency, how to dialogue with the agency. When is it appropriate to make certain phone calls? Is it okay to say no about certain things? Absolutely. So I help them navigate the business. So some people, they hire me. I just give them that whole rundown on what the business is about. That's all they need, right? And sometimes I really help guide and mold parents and children in the business. I'm not a manager, but I just have so much information to give. And agencies like that I exist, because sometimes, when you think about an agent who has 80, 100, 200 people to deal with, every single phone call that they get to answer a question becomes really time consuming, because they can't just sit there and say yes, no, and then hang up. It's a dialogue that they need to have with these clients of theirs. So I sometimes act as a buffer, and I just help people understand things that agencies just really don't have time to talk with every single client of theirs. And then the modeling aspect, that's a given. And then I teach the new models, how do you go into a casting? How do you go into an audition and not crumble if you feel that they're not giving you the attention that you think you need when you're going into an audition? So all of those little bits and pieces that go along with the industry. And again, even though I don't use the same language when I'm working with people who are not in the industry, it's all very similar to help people feel confident in all of their jobs. Going to school, that's a job. Going to school is a job. Going to your job, if you're a grown woman, going into the boardroom, going into your meetings, and you just don't feel as strong as you should, that's just it's all the same, really. It's all the same. It's just tailored for different people in different parts of business, different parts of their lives, different ages.
And can you talk a little bit about body awareness and about how we hold our bodies, not just the standing up straight, but other ways we might move?
We hide. If we're not comfortable, sometimes we may cross our arms, fold our arms, even if we're just cold. We may be just standing there like this, but it's telling a different story. It could somebody might read it as, oh, wow, that girl's really cold. Or, whoa, she's really standoffish. Or, boy, she's really afraid. She doesn't want anybody coming into her space. All of those are three very different stories, but it's all because I'm standing like this. So those are things that I help deconstruct that people may not even realize that they're doing. So everything that I do is done very respectfully, because like I said, deconstruct can be such a hard word. It can sound like, oh, she's trying to break me. No, I'm not trying to break you. I'm trying to help people shed things that are not working for them. So if tall women, I always see tall women hunching over, because the average height for a woman is 5'6". So if you're anything above 5'6", it's very common for women to stand very slumped over, because they want to match their friends. They want to be eye to eye with their friends, which I get. Guys do it too. And so it's just things like that, breaking those habits and instilling new habits, being aware of the story that you're telling. with your body language, with your posture, with your face. And like I said, I do it too. I mean, my resting face is so not cute, So I help people become aware of those things.
Well, Etirsa, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today, and for all the listeners and viewers. I can't thank you enough for sharing your expertise and your beautiful smile and your contagious laugh.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for being so hospitable and inviting me to be on your show. I love it. I love what you're doing, and I feel so honored to be interviewed by you. So thank you for inviting me.